Three, two, one, go.
Hello again, everybody. This is Chris Spinner.
And this is Harold Sullivan. This is the Sullivan Project podcast. What's up, Chris?
What's up?
Trials and tribulations, right? And another week. We're here, though. We're still here. Actually, it's been a few days. I don't know. But whenever people check this out, whenever it's uploaded, you know what I mean? I try to do one at least a week. But I've been doing a few to catch up because I felt a little bit behind. But yeah, you're not feeling well, huh? You all right, though? Is it just like, just a, you know, just normal stuff? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and then I've been having stuff all week. Uh, I did start the Bible though for the eighth time now, the audio Bible. So it's been about 2 years now. Since I got the audio Bible. I went blind about 2 years and 2 months ago, and then I got that speaker, the Google speaker, about 2 months after I went blind. I didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? I'm just like, and then I figured that I'd get a speaker and then find audio books, and podcasts. And so I got that Bible, and it was $14.99. I was thinking, man, the Bible's free, right? They give away the Bible. I mean, but then I was like, wow, how can they be charged and they could make money off the Lord? But then after I got into it and listened to it, and I'm like, well, you know what? It doesn't matter. It's worth all the money in the world. I mean, I guess they have to. Someone has to read it, so it's audio, so I can understand. It's 87 hours, the audio Bible, and the Bible is what 2,189 chapters. It's called Pure Voice Audio Bible, King James Version. So there's different people reading the chapters, so I can understand. You know what I mean? That's a lot of work. So for $15, I mean, it turned me around. It saved me. You know what I mean? So it gave me a roadmap, like somewhere to go instead of being everywhere. Most people are everywhere. They're this way, they're left, they're right, but they're not going down a straight line. And that's what the Bible offered to me was start off here. This is somewhere to start and go, and then try to keep close to that. You know what I mean? That's the best way I can answer that. So that's a positive. So 8 times now I started, and I'm in the fifth book of Moses now. I think he has the most. Uh, there's different books in the Bible, and then I think he has the most attributed to him, Moses. I'm sure you heard Moses' name and Noah, But so yeah, I did that, and then let me mention about getting older again, and then a couple other things, and then we'll get into some topics. Oh, hey Google, what time is it?
It's 6:11 p.m.
What time did we start talking? About 2 or 3 minutes ago. 6:08.
But that's
Okay, so we'll do 6:35. Okay. All right, that's good. I'm trying to do.
6:10 right now.
Yeah, trying to keep up because I can't see, so I gotta keep track of the time so I can record this because this camera will shut off after about 30 minutes. It's just a cheap camera, but it has a button where it can make sound, so I can figure out I can turn it off and on, and record. And I was born with an autoimmune disease, in case people haven't tuned in before, and I've been, through a lot over 40 something years. But like I said, well, I'm still here. We're all here. We all got things to do, and nothing's an accident. Uh, I don't believe in accidents as coincidence or mistakes anymore. And we all purpose, you know what I mean? And if you don't feel like you have a purpose, that's when it gets depressed and sad. And so we're here to talk. If you want to contact the show, 724-513-1472, or if you want to write in or be on the show, we appreciate likes, shares, comments. Rate it, and yeah, we have guests, audio or video, and that's Harold Sullivan 78 on YouTube, Harold Sullivan 78 on TikTok, Harold Sullivan period 35 on Facebook, and like we said, everyone has a story, right? You can't judge a book by its cover. Chris likes to say that, right? It's true because you don't know, right? When you look at someone, you don't know what they go through, what they feel inside, and who are you? You can't judge that person. Talk to them. You know,
Yeah.
Sometimes all it takes is a smile, right? If you're having a bad day and someone smiles at you, what does that do? That just makes you just go right up, feel so good. And that's what we're here for. If you just need to talk to someone, sometimes someone just needs to talk. No judgment. And we do everything on here, so it's not just spiritual or movies or whatever. But yeah, so we were talking about getting older. Me and Greg a couple podcasts ago. Check that out. We actually had Ari Lehman from Friday the 13th. I had him as a guest. And Chris and I did a Friday the 13th movie review. So go check that on the podcast. But yeah, we talked about getting older. First, a few things I forgot to mention, I think, was armpit hair, which is funny. I don't know if you have that, but I don't even barely have armpits. I'm 70 pounds. I'm about a little over 4 feet, right? And I'm skinny. But I got armpit hair. You can't shave the hair because it grows back. I had my butt hair shaved one time, right? And now I got a bush. That's ridiculous. I didn't know you don't shave the hair, but what are you supposed to do? So I had this caregiver, right? And she actually offered, and no caregiver ever. I was like, wow, this girl actually cares. She's going to try to make me more comfortable. Well, she got me, you know what I mean? Because every time we go to the bathroom and if something gets stuck in there, then somebody got to pull it out. And I got to go through all that pain, right? It's graphic, but you know what? This is my life, right? So I got one hair growing out of my nipple, which I forgot to mention. This is odd things, like how you have hairs just growing out of weird places. Nose hair too. You just get hair in your nose, and then you can't. What are you gonna do with that? Because if you cut it, it grows back more and more. It's coming down out of your nose. It's disgusting and itchy, and I'm always like snorting and stuff, like I do crack or coke, like that. You know, it's nose hair. It gets itchy, and then like I said, I got one hair growing out of my freaking nipple. One of them somewhere. It's like 6 inches. Just one hair. It's just weird. And then I was talking about the butt problems, right? I was mentioning this with Greg, how I have problems sometimes. And you know what happened? That freaking night, I kid you not, 4 days ago, right? I got on the toilet. And this is the story. This is what happened. It's very hard for me to go anyway because I have scoliosis on my one side. And that's where I'm leaning on. So that's, I think, where the stomach is. But anyway, I got on there and I kind of fell in the toilet almost, and my arms were just sticking up. I didn't have no way to hold on, and everything just let go, and I couldn't hold it, and it just tore. I tore. Oh my god! So the last 4 days, I almost thought I was gonna have to go to the hospital because I've been in so much pain. My tailbone was even hurting too. Like I felt like I fell on my butt real hard, or somebody took one of them old paddles and wooden breadboards, because they used to hit kids with them back in the day. They had a handle on them. And this is another thing, or someone just took me a broom, right, and just shoved me down on a broom real hard on my butt. Like somebody just really did something bad to my ass. And
Wow.
I have real respect. I was joking. I got more respect for women and whoever, other whatever you want to identify, for whoever does stuff back there, messes around, to say in a sexual way. We don't talk about that on this podcast, but I'm just saying, I don't know how anybody can do any of that. I don't know how you can do that. I can't even go to the bathroom without injuring myself, literally. And it hurts today still. Like, uh, it's almost better. Like, but I'm having trouble sitting up still. Even when I lay down, it hurts. And it just really feels like somebody just really abused me really bad in the rear end area. I gotta keep moving, you know what I mean? Because it hurts. So this is what I go through. Just go and poop. I get injured. I almost have to go. I don't want to go to the hospital. That's so embarrassing. What am I going to do? They're going to tell me you got to wait for it to go. I guess it takes a few days to go back up. If you have a hemorrhoid, if that's what it is, and it comes out because you push too hard, you got to wait a few days and it usually will go back up in there. But if it doesn't, you're going to have a problem. So that's what it is. It's your insides. So that's pretty gross. But that's what I've been dealing with the last few days. And today I started feeling better, and all day I couldn't stay awake. I'm trying to stay awake because I need to do some podcasts to get. So I'm going from kidney stones to hurt my rear end, and then I can't stay awake. Like I got these things. I always got these stuff going on, bothering me. And now I'm back to where I'm sleeping all day, and I'm awake at night now. Like my night and day.
Yeah, that's what I did.
It's terrible, and I can't.
It is.
What am I going to do laying at night? I can't record because I can't mess with the camera, or I don't have anywhere to lay it, and I don't know. If I can figure out how to do that, then maybe I could because I'm laying there all night. You know what I mean? I just listen to audiobooks is what I do. So, and I just finished Ghostbusters, the first audiobook based on the novel, or the novel based on the movie, the first movie, and I finished the Gospel of Matthew, which is a lost Bible, a lost book from the Bible, which I don't think I mentioned yet. Uh, what time did we say we started? 6:08.
About
Right.
that.
Okay, so we're gonna go to about 6:30, 35. Okay, yeah. So Let's see what else I caught up. Okay, I did meet with a social worker finally, a case, whatever, blended case manager, which I really don't like these people because I don't have a social worker and I should have had one. So they claim they got to keep coming back and have me sign more papers to try to figure out what kind of services I need. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't like any of these government people. You know what I mean? Because they don't do what they want and they collect money and it doesn't matter if they help you, they still get paid. So, and, and I got to go see Greg, or I got to go visit Greg yesterday, and I had to get the DART bus because UPMC is not reliable. So I paid DART bus $10 to go to Ambridge and back, and that was half fare because I have a disability card. So we met at the restaurant called K&N over in Ambridge. For anybody over in Ambridge, I lived in Ambridge over 10 years off and on in my life, and that's where I met Greg and Randy and a few other people. And so I used to go to a restaurant over there pretty much every day. So we met up over there and we went, and I got a little video of him and Randy so I could uh, show people what they look like because nobody's can see them. They don't have video, they just do audio podcasts. So, and I took the camera with me the one time when I went over Greg's for that cookout, uh, but I forgot to take it out and record somehow. But so I had a grilled cheese with bacon and some fries. That was what I had for dinner or breakfast or whatever. That was lunchtime around 11. So, but we got to do that, so that was nice. But yeah, I got to pay them all that money. Can you believe that? Ambridge is like 2 miles across the bridge. Jesus, that's called failed
Yeah.
system. They're milking us, and
Mm-hmm.
UPMC don't show up, so I can't call them because they're free, you know. But they don't show up. So we did all that, and I got to. So I'm gonna upload that right before this one. Greg's just a little short second video showing Greg and Randy, and maybe one day we'll all get to meet up. I mean, we all in heaven, you know what I mean? But maybe one day we'll get to hang out and do a podcast or something. That'd be neat. Like having lots of the. I call everybody the family now, the podcast family. Anybody that joins. So, hey Google, what time is it?
It's 6:21 p.m.
Okay, we got plenty of time. So you're all good with you're just feeling a little down. Is it just weather, or is it just sometimes you just don't feel like all peppy and 100%? Is that how it is?
What's that?
For you today, you just is it just it's not really the weather? Is it weather, or is it just like just not like you're just not up like all hot, dancing like 100%? Is that just like you're not all peppy? You're just chilling out today. You're good.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're good. You don't need to talk about anything.
No.
Okay, because you know I'm here, and if you just need to say if something's bothering you, or you're thinking about something, whatever, I'm here. It helps just to listen. I mean, there's times I didn't have that. Dan helped me with that. When I went blind, he called me for a couple months. I didn't answer the phone, and Dan kept calling me over and over and leave me the same voicemail. Because he calls me Joe, you know, so because we met when we were kids. And my middle name is Joseph, for people that don't know. It's Harold Joseph. But Dan left me like 20 voicemails. Joey, is Dan, call me back. Joey, is Dan, call me back. Literally. And then when I snapped out and felt sorry for myself when I was blind, I called him back. And then he had me go to help me go to church. He came down and we rode the bus a few times. But he only lives 2 miles away too. But he can't really. He seems like he can't get a ride down here, so he has to come down here for me to go out. I can't just go by myself blind, you know. So it's all good though, you know what I mean. It's all good time, God's time. It's not the same as our time. So, but let's get into a couple of topics I had here that I come up with, and we're gonna do some more movie reviews. Maybe we'll do Halloween the next time. You know, the first Halloween '78. That's
Yeah.
your favorite movie, right?
Yeah.
And that's my favorite movie actually too. Even though Jason was my favorite character, and Friday the 13th is my favorite franchise. You know, Greg had never seen Friday the 13th, the original one. He's seen all the Halloween, Jason, or Halloween. I mean, not Halloween. All the Jason, all the Elm Street. He's probably seen other Halloween, but never the first one. I mean, he's seen. I got it wrong. He's seen Halloween. He's seen Friday the 13th, but never the first Friday the 13th. So he's gonna go watch it because of the review we did. He said, I said, wow. Before the first Friday the 13th, no movie had done them kills and all that. That's what was fascinating about it, being kids and young and seeing these people getting killed. And it's like, how did they do that, right? And everything after that tried to copy that pretty much. So that's just a little bit of our review of Friday the 13th. But maybe we'll do Halloween next time, 1978, whenever we do a review. So how about celebrities? I wanted to talk about some famous people quote unquote famous people. But I realize we're all the same, right? And whether they're charging you $25 for an autograph, which is how much it was at that time, I realize, man, somebody can pay me for my autograph too. We're the same thing. You know what I mean? And they're getting paid just to sign something. That's something. But I had to grow past that point. You know what I mean? It's like when you're a little kid and you get money and you go buy candy. In the store. When you get older, you don't want candy anymore. So, but I went to Comic Cons. Randy took me to a few. We went to conventions, and so when I was little, that's when I first started meeting some famous people. When I was real young, did you ever hear of Easter Seals?
Yeah.
The organization. It was like a Big Brother or something type, Big
Uh-huh.
Sister. Yeah, so I dealt with them when I was a kid, and I actually got to meet some of the Steelers from the early '80s, and it was Bradshaw, Frank Harris, Lynn Swan, right? That whole team. And
Yeah, I met Mitch one up Giant Eagle when I was working up there.
oh yeah, he's nice, huh? He's a real
Yeah.
nice dude.
He's alright.
And this was probably in the '80s, early '80s when I was real young. But I actually walked up to Franco Harris and he picked me up because I was in real pain. I couldn't walk. Like they found when I was 2 years old when they found out what I had. But before that, they thought I was malnourished or something. My joints were real fat and swollen, and I kept falling. I was in pain and crying all the time because that's what the arthritis would do. But so I met him, and I actually had a football signed by that whole team. But then my mom had got with this guy years later, and my stepsisters actually tore this NFL licensed football up. I came home one day and it was just shredded everywhere. I don't know how they did it. Like some monsters, man. And it would have been worth so much money. It was a Super Bowl signed team. Like probably 8 signatures or six or more on it, 6 or 8. From the early '80s, man. And then later on, I went to the news stations and I met some people. Channel 11 around here, I met John Fedco. I actually got to do a live, like I got to watch them do the news live and behind the cameras. And I went to Channel WDVE, the radio station,
Yeah.
and I got to do the weather on there one time. So I've been on the radio before. The guys like, you want to do the? So I got to listen to them do the news and the radio. And then when I started going to them conventions in Pittsburgh and then out in Ohio, uh, see where I started. The first one I went to Monroeville. I met Fat Mama. I don't know if you remember her, but there was a reality show called Who Wants to Be a Superhero. Stan Lee did, and the director, or the Marvel Comics director. See, Stan Lee was a writer. A lot of people didn't know he didn't draw the comics. He just wrote the comics. He gets all the credit though, you know. But he didn't draw. He wrote the comics. See, most comics are written by one person and drawn by different, and sometimes three people. One does color, one does ink, and one writes. So, in case people don't know, that's why there's all the different names on the bottom. In the comic because different people do ink, color, and writing. So, but anyway, who did I met? Fat Mama. She won that show. So she was just a lady, and she was in a costume, had donuts on it, and I met her at a convention, right? And then I went in, and it was a Halloween. People from Halloween. So Danielle Harris from Halloween 4 and 5, the little girl. I met her.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, she was very nice. She had a stalker when she was young, and that's why she quit doing movies. Isn't that a shame? 11-year-old girl, 12-year-old girl, and some guy was trying to get her. And that's what happened to Adrian King from Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I remember that.
After the first one, she disappeared. Came back for a cameo in the second one and cheaply got killed off. That's stupid. But same thing happened to her because they had replaced her in part 6 with a different actress, and then had to get killed off right away. And she said she could have came back, but she didn't want her character to get killed that way, so she refused part 6. Danielle Harris. But I met her. She actually came around and gave me a hug, even though she was afraid to touch people and stuff. She had a bodyguard and all that. It was her first time coming out and doing conventions and stuff. She had said this was like in '07, 2007 or so. So I met her there. I met William Forsythe, who played the stepdad in Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Oh, you met him too?
Yeah, he's a character, that guy. And I asked him, how much did you ad lib in that scene at the table with the cast? And he's like, pretty much all of it. And Rob Zombie just said, let's just go at it. Where he's cussing at the mother and he's talking about skull effing her and all that. And and the baby's screaming and it's just chaos, right? And he says the girl has a nice butt. He's talking about the teenage girl. I mean, he's just going
Yeah.
off. He just came up with all that stuff. Like I met him. I met Bill Moseley at the same convention. He played the security guard, right? He's like trick or treat baby, and he was also in Texas Chainsaw 2, right? He played Chop Top.
Top chop. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy picking out his freaking head and eating it. That was so disgusting. How did they come up with that? You know? Remember he had that coat hanger that was bent and he was digging at the scabs on his metal plate on his head and but he would light it and get it hot and then pick the scabs off and eat it. Like
Yeah, I
who
remember that.
who
Yeah.
comes up with that sick? Somebody thought of that to put that in there. So I met them at that convention. Fat Mama. It's hard to remember which ones was at which convention. Doug Bradley, who played Pinhead in the Hellraiser movies. I met him. I met Greg Nicotero, who started off on Evil Dead with Burger. Him and Burger had KMB effects, and now he's on Walking Dead. I met him there. Daniel Harris. I met at the Texas Chainsaw 35th reunion. I met Bubba uh, or Gunnar Hansen, the original Leatherface. I
Yeah.
met Gunnar Hansen.
Well, you
Uh,
met a lot.
yeah, I met the other brother, the hitchhiker. I met the grandfather. He played an older guy, but he was only 20 something when he did the movie. He said they just put makeup on her to make him look older. I met the lead lady, Marilyn Burns, from the original
Met her.
Texas Chainsaw, and then the dark haired lady. There was two or three of them. I met all from Texas Chainsaw. Yeah, I had a cast signed poster with about 8 people. I sold it on eBay. And you know what? Right before that, the day before that, uh, the cameraman, I guess, one of the original cameraman from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre had got killed. A fan showed up at his porch or at his house and killed him, shot him. And this was right before he was supposed to come to the convention to be at the convention. So I could have met the other guy too, and he was murdered. They were all talking about how he was just murdered, and they still came to the convention and showed up. And I was like, wow, 35 years later, like, you know what I mean? But let's see who else for the original one. I'm trying to think of who. And then I met some from Friday the 13th. I met Kane Hodder, who played Jason in part 7, 8, 9, 10. Betsy Palmer, who played Jason's mom, and she was so awesome. Kane, he almost killed me, literally. I joke how I'm one of the few people to survive Jason, right? Because he has this pose he does where he puts his hand around your throat to choke you.
Yeah, I
Showed
saw
you.
that.
Yeah, I sent you the picture, right?
Yeah.
And he did 2 takes. He did the first one, and then Randy was had the camera. He's like, "Oh, I'll choke him a little harder," and he actually did. So my eyes were bulging out, but then I'm glad he let go because he kind of just went back into Jason mode, and he could have popped my head right off, man. He has a tattoo in his mouth. Do you remember that? It's kill. If he pulls his upper lip down or his bottom lip down, he has kill tattooed inside his lip. Kane Hodder. So
He does.
yeah, yep, it says kill right on his lip. And then he almost got burned to death when he was younger. So he has burns on his neck and his hands. And so in case people don't know that, that's why he became a stuntman pretty much. But so we had Kane, Tom Savini. I met him, and yeah, he was kind of arrogant. And see, when I was little and I saw that movie, well, I saw that movie when I was a teenager probably, but I always wanted to do effects after that because of how he killed people and stuff in that movie, and just the way the special effects were, they were revolutionary. And I tried to tell him about that, but he was running around shooting people with rubber bands. He was acting, kind of childish. But Savini, he's in the industry. You know what I mean? He revolutionized special effects. So, but I met him. I met Adrienne King, who played Alice in the first two. She was very nice, and I just sat and talked to her. And then, like I said, I met Danny. What's his name the director from
Danny
part
Steinman.
Steinman, the director from part 5. And he actually read some of one of my scripts I wrote, a fan script, and he said he liked it. So, and who else that can I remember that I met? Oh, from A Nightmare on Elm Street, I met Nancy's dad from the first one.
John Saxon.
Yeah, oh, he was so cool, man. That dude was just like on camera, just real chill, like you just chill and hang out with the guy. He's very like monotone, and we were talking about the remake that was coming out a little bit later, and he didn't want to hear it. They don't like to hear about remakes, you know what I mean? And he didn't want nothing to do with it. Just like Betsy Palmer, there was a comic book I had her sign. and it was called Pamela's Tale, and it was supposed to be a prequel. And she's like, no, this ain't what happened. She's like, no. She's like, I didn't have a husband. She was trying to, because in the comic book, she's beaten by her husband, and she kills him, and then she goes to Crystal Lake to raise Jason. So that's a spoiler there, but she's like, no, that's not what happened. I just got pregnant, and this, and she had her whole story in her mind for how Pamela was. You know what I mean? So that was pretty neat. Uh, yeah, I met John Saxon, or John Saxon. Is that how he's? I can't. Oh, I almost had a chance to meet from Jay and Silent Bob. I almost had a chance to meet Jason Mewes, who played Jay, but I didn't know who he was because his hair was short, and at the time I didn't know his real name. And then I almost could have met the director, John Landis. You heard of him, right? From
Yeah.
American Werewolf.
Yeah.
Yeah,
American Werewolf in London or whatever it
yeah,
is.
or Paris. He did both, I think. But he was just sitting there, and I didn't know who he was, and he was just nobody was by him, and I didn't. And then the original Darth Vader, I didn't know who he was, David Prowse, because James Earl Jones only does the voice. He wasn't the guy in the costume. See, people don't know that they added his voice in later. So I couldn't meet. I didn't meet that guy either. Now I would if I went to a convention. But so those are some of the famous people. Oh, and then I met Ty Law, the football player in Aliquippa. He lives around here. This is the town I'm from, in case anybody knows, Aliquippa, PA. And I met Sean Gilbert, another football player from around here. And then who else was there from around here? Sean Gilbert, Ty Law. Oh my goodness. There was one other famous person. Jesus. I can't remember now. It was just there. Ty Law, Sean Gilbert. I can't remember. I'm sure it'll come back to it. I'll tell it for a teaser on the next one, and people can go back and find the other famous people. Yeah, I can't believe Ty Law and Sean Gilbert. What was it? Football? Football? Huh. I can't remember. I'll be daggone. Hey, Google, what time is it?
It's 6:36 p.m.
Oh, crap. We're about to go, though. So, anyway, be the light, and love is a choice, and so is the hate, everyone. We'll be back again with Chris and some other people, right?
Yep, you got it.